everybody. Hello. Welcome, everybody, to the studio where we are going to be painting this guy, a Chupacabra. It is Cryptid month. We're into Halloween now, and I am ready to paint something a little spooky, a little crazy for Halloween this year. I think cryptids are kind of a fun way to do it without being too traditional for everything. So that's the direction I'm going. Glad to see you guys here. Dwayne, Sadique, I am glad you're here. Let's get rolling with this. So first off, my supplies. The paper that I'm using is, once again, Hanamule paper. I've got a few sheets of this left. We'll probably use it for the next couple of weeks. The brushes that I'm going to be using are my King art brushes, and the paints on the side, my right hand side over here, are my M-Gram paints. I've got some water up over there. I've got some towels over here, and before we get too far into it, I should say that picture there may not be what everybody thinks of when they think of a Chupacabra. That's what I think of when I think of a Chupacabra. I was a little surprised when I looked at Wikipedia, and Wikipedia said, well, a Chupacabra is a lizard-like creature with spines and everything coming out of its back. And I was like, whoa, that's not what I think of when I think of a Chupacabra. So this is my version of a Chupacabra. Let's just go with that a little bit. Okay, so here's the way I'm going to attack this. I'm going to try to start with the lightest things first, right? The moon obviously is going to be pretty light. I've got some sky around there. The goats are lighter. Then I'm going to work into the body of the Chupacabra. We'll do some background along the way, and Studio says the picture's going to give you nightmares. Well, I hope it's not that bad. It's supposed to be a little spooky. I'm going to take my cold yellow, which for me is a Hansa yellow, and I'm going to put a little bit of my phthalo green in it, and I'm going to get a bit of a green moon going on here. I want it to be a little bit of a scary moon. That might be just a little too green. There we go. I want it to be very pale, but a little bit green on the green side. And there we go. I think all good, scary moons have a little bit of color to them. They're not just a pale color. So this, for me, is going to add a little creepy factor by just adding that little bit of color to it. And as I'm getting started with this, I want to say I hope that everybody has had a wonderful week thus far. I started out with a terrible headache on Monday. Our weather here has changed a little bit, not a lot of it. Played a little bit of havoc with my head, and so Monday for me was not the best, but the rest of the week so far has been pretty fantastic, and I hope yours has been too. There we go. There's the basis of my moon over there, and I'm actually going to give a little bit of this moon color to part of these goats over here. The Chupacabra is known as the goat sucker. And so I want to get a little bit of color on... Oh, you can't even see it. You're underneath me. That's no good. Let's see if I can change that. If I hold this over here and slide that way just a little bit, I think you can see it there. And let's see what else. What else is going on here? What else is going on that I'm willing to talk about? There's lots going on in the country and around the world right now, and I'm not willing to talk about a lot of it here. I think it doesn't have any place here, but what is going on that we can talk about? Things have definitely changed here. It started to cool down. Well, it's a different weather pattern we've moved into. It's a bit of an interesting weather pattern. Definitely cooler in the morning. I can see my breath when I get up in the morning and to let the chickens out. Let's see, what else am I going to talk about? So the sky. Oh, let's talk about colors here, right? The sky is going to be darkest, kind of in the corners here, and lighter as it comes down to the horizon. It's going to be lighter as it comes down to the horizon, so that we can have some of these mountains in the background that you see. Actually, you might be able to see them a little better over there. Actually, let's do this. Where's my reference photo? There you go. So you can see a little lighter in at the horizon back there, so you can see some of the mountains, and then we'll bring those mountains forward towards us, and as they come towards us, they'll gain a little bit of color, so that there'll still be a bit of gray in them, but so that they're more ochre as they get to the front of the picture, as they move into the foreground. We've got our goats on the right hand side. We've got a little barn or a little shack there that we'll give some color to, maybe a little bit of brown gray in there, warmer a little bit. And then you can see the Chupacabra that I have there kind of has some fur, pretty skinny. Maybe he's got a little bit of mange going on, something like that. That's the general direction I'm going with this. Like I said, for me, the Chupacabra's been more of a dog than a lizard by any stretch. Kenya is here. Hello, Kenya. Welcome. Welcome. It is Cryptid month. And I'm starting with a Chupacabra. And I'm stalling to let this dry just a little bit. I want to just jump in and do the Chupacabra. But I want to get a little bit of the background in here first of all, which means I got to let the moon dry. My big pale greenish moon, supposed to be a little bit eerie. And while we're waiting, Dwayne, I have a question for you. And if you want to say let's kind of take this offline a little bit different, that's totally cool. I'm totally fine with that. For those of you who don't know, Dwayne is a fantastic fisherman. And for what I do, I'm a pretty good fisherman. But Dwayne, I'm trying to master jig fishing, and I did a lot of fishing with a football jig over the weekend. Chupacabra. Kenya says, Chupacabra fun. So Dwayne, two issues with my football jig over the weekend. One is all the fish I caught were tiny. Yeah, okay. Dwayne says, not sure who edited the wiki page to call it a lizard. I was a little surprised about that. But this is more what I think of it as like a wolf or a dog of some sort, something along those lines. Something that is definitely warm-blooded, right? So anyways, Dwayne, I caught, I don't know, 7 or 8 bass, small, on this football jig. On Saturday, on Sunday when I went back out, I'll bet you I missed a dozen fish because I never was able, I don't think, to set the hook at the right time on those. Something I've got to get used to. If you have any tips on how to get better at jig fishing, I would be happy to listen to that. I'm trying to figure it out. Let's see, Sudika says, never been fishing. My nephew said he would take me in the spring. There you go. I would go. Sudika, I would go fishing anytime. If I never caught a fish, and I've told my wife to this, I'm very thankful to her for she actually bought me the first fishing license out here in California a number of years ago. Even if I never caught a fish out there, it is so nice to be out, away from the city, out in nature. I can see birds flying. On my drive up, I see deer and all kinds of animals running around and ducks on the water. It's a wonderful place to go and spend a day, even if I didn't catch any fish. Slow drag on the bottom with the football jig. Any trailer on it. I had a craw trailer. So it was kind of the brownish, pumpkinish color with a pumpkin colored trailer on it. And what I was doing is I'd pick it up just like I was fishing a worm, Texas rig, and I'd pick it up, but instead of just picking it, I'd pop, 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 pop as I pick it up, and then let it sit for between 5 and 10 seconds, and then pick it up again and pop, 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 pop as I'm picking it up. My thought was that as I pop it, as it's coming up, and I don't pick it up real fast, but as I pop it, that skirt on that jig would just flutter a little bit like that. You can tell me I probably am doing it wrong. That was just my first inclination for it. Okay, I think my moon is dry enough here that we can add a bit of a sky, and let's see what we can do. I'm going to try to wet quite a bit of this first. It's got a large area we need to cover. And so that Dwayne and I don't get into a fishing conversation and bore everybody else to death, I'm going to keep going with watercoloring. If that's okay with everybody, I'll just do a little bit of watercoloring while we're here. And while I'm doing it, I just want to say I got on Discord, I got to the pre-stream gathering at about 6:35 local time today. Again, there is in no way any pressure for anybody to go to this pre-stream gathering in Discord, but I was there and playing some songs and singing on the old ukulele, trying to just release a little tension before I started this stream. Not that this is stressful at all, but there is a little bit of performance anxiety before I start, if you can imagine that. And taking my mind off of it by doing something else, I think is in that way for me is pulling out the old musical instrument and playing a little bit and singing along. If you want to get in on any of those festivities, or maybe have a little fun at my expense, or maybe you want to get on and sing along with me as I play and sing badly, that would be fun. Today I did a little Billy Joel. I think I did a little Willie Nelson too. And I think I did a little bit of Jimmy Buffett, a little Cheeseburger in Paradise this evening. So that was actually fun to do. But certainly absolutely no pressure for anybody there. Just something that's fun and a way to relieve a little pressure before we get started. And I'm dropping in, I'm just doing a little bit of background, a little bit of the nighttime sky here. I'm just starting with straight Payne's Gray. Nothing else. If we make this dark out here, awesome. If it lightens as it goes in, that's fine too. We're going to figure it out as we paint here. I don't want this to be so dark around this form that we can't see it, but I want it to be dark enough that it's recognizable immediately as being at night. And I don't know if anybody has ever tried this before. I think I've talked about it before. I can do it this way, which is kind of the more traditional way of painting something in the background here. You're painting your sky in the background. I'm trying to take a little bit of this color out because I want it to be a little bit mottled in here. A little mottled. I don't want it to be, completely one color and just a graded wash. Well, maybe I do. I don't know. Maybe I do. Let me just, if I've got it nice and wet, I can work with this a little bit. Actually, I should turn it upside down. I should add a little water to this side, which will thin it out down here towards the horizon line, a little bit of water down there, and pull my paint up towards the top of the sky. And that will thin it out at the bottom. That's probably what I should have been doing all along. I'll thin it out at the bottom and make it thicker at the top. That's probably a plan. Let's just go back and pretend that I suggested doing that all along. That would totally work. What I should say, at my work this week, I had to take a professional development course. Anybody who is watching from my work, and I took it with you, I enjoyed being in the class with you. I'm going to try to put into practice some of what I learned in that seminar. I need to speak with intention. I need to be clear and articulate, not throw in too many filler words so that it interrupts the train of thought of everybody, and then you're wondering where the pauses in my sentence should be, what the main gist of my sentences are going to be. Too many uhs and ums and stutters will cause everybody not to, this is according to the seminar, will cause everybody not to have a firm grasp of what I'm talking about, as though everybody's going to have a kind of an odd grasp of what I'm talking about, given that it's me talking about it. Okay, cool. All right. There's some of our sky. It's not bad. It may not be the best. We're going to deal with it. We're going to take it. Now, I will say, I typically divide up my sky and my horizon line. Not everybody does it. You can do it a different way. You could paint your sky right down over top of your horizon line. Look, now I keep looking up and nobody has said anything, and I'm wondering, I keep wondering every time I look up, did my broadcast go on to Fritz again? But I don't see any red lights over here. I'm going to assume you're all there. And if you're not, that's okay. I'm just going to keep on talking so that people who watch in the replay will see it. And then it's going to seem like I've got a giant crowd here. Nope. I'm watching. Okay, cool. It's an odd thing to do this, and I'll look up, and 4 or 5 times in a row there will be a question, or even if it's 1 or 2 times in a row, it really doesn't matter. There'll be a question there or a new comment there, and then you'll look up twice in a row and there'll be nothing there, and you're like, oh no, wait a minute, hold on. Hold on a second, where did everybody go? It's one of those feelings you have to get comfortable with. Anyways, the whole gist of the seminar was speaking with purpose, speaking with understanding, speaking with the knowledge of what you want to get across, and not having too many filler words so that everybody understands where you're coming from and what you're trying to say. So I'm going to do that. Also, hand gestures, which is something I'm going to try to do. This is what I do around the house. I always go like this. Now, let me ask you a question. Put my hand up. Hold on a second. Let me just ask you this. Everybody goes, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? We don't want to see your hand sticking out there like that. I'm going to spare you the hand, but not the gestures. You're going to get the gestures. And here's the other thing. I grew up in a community of Italians, and they all spoke like this, hand gestures all over the place. If their hands weren't moving, I don't think any of them could talk. That was always the joke. All right, let's do this. Let me drop down a little brush size. Typically, I like to start with a larger brush and move larger brush to smaller brush to smaller brush to smaller brush. I think that in general terms, that's a great way to frame your painting. You shouldn't at the end be painting with a larger brush than you painted with in the middle of the painting. There might be some times when you jump back and forth between a size lower and a size bigger, or a size smaller and a size bigger, but in general, you probably should be painting most of the time with a successively smaller brush with each iteration of your painting. So I'm gonna real quickly just put a couple of shadows on these goats over here, so we know they're goats. We've got the reflected light from the moon over here on the top of them. We're gonna know they're goats. I'm gonna leave it like that. If they don't look like goats, they'll look like some kind of farm animal, maybe. I'm hoping, and we're gonna paint some other stuff around them, so that'll be good. Okay, now is the point where I do have to carry on. Actually, you know what? This seems to have dried much quicker than the moon did. So we can get on with a first layer of paint on this guy. Actually, we can do it's pretty dry. Let's just move on to our foreground. The goats will be fine. All right, so I'm going to start with. Well, I've got a mess on my palette here. Let's get a little bit of color off of here. I want my distant hills to match the sky a little bit, but be a little bit warmer. So I'm going to take our same Payne's gray that we used over here to do our sky with, and as I'm looking at it, we might come back in on another layer in the corners and put in some blue, maybe some ultramarine, or maybe some turquoise, and darken up parts of this sky. But I think this is a good start for us. But I want to have a crisp edge between, I want a crisp edge between our distant hills here and our sky. And I'm going to drop that in. I'm going to be brave and just drop this in. That whole thing like that, and I'm just going to pull it down. I actually went to I'm going to call it a watercolor class. It wasn't really a class. It wasn't much of a class at all. Our local watercolor society here on the central coast of California put it on. It was at my local library, and they did a great job in presenting what they did. I'll tell you how they did it. The guy came in with paint and paper and palettes and brushes and everything that everybody could want in order to paint a watercolor painting. Pre-drawn, everything was pre-drawn. Everybody was going to do the same image, and he actually walked through step by step. Here's how you paint a watercolor painting, and one of the steps was, how do you paint distant mountains? And he went, the easiest way to paint distant mountains is put a line on it and then pull that color out. And I hope I get to these fast enough that this didn't really dry. Put some color on it and then pull that color out. You get that hard edge right at the top of it. It'll blend down, and you can put anything you want to in front of it at that point in time, and it's gonna look just like that hard edge that you get will soften out, and it's gonna look just like the top of a distant mountain. You do it in a painting like this, a more of an evening type painting. You can do it in a daytime painting. You do it anything you want. It just gives you that hard edge, and you can see back there now. if I want to take this and then I got this. Let me bring this all the way down to that little goat guy there. If I want to then take this and put a line at the horizon, or I want to put something, a cactus, a rock, or something else in front of what I have down here as my, as a line here where the mountains end and the ground, the flat ground starts, I can put something there. I can put anything I want to in front of it, but because I've got that hard edge and it softens as it comes down, it looks like there's some distance there. Maybe there's a little mist or something in front of that. I was like, actually, that's not actually a bad way to do a few mountains. I was pretty impressed on it. It wasn't much of the rest of the class wasn't a whole lot. And it was pretty funny when we were all done, and the guy was like, well, I'd love to walk around and show everybody's work and see how everybody's done and get your feelings on the course and everything like that. Maybe we'll come back and we'll do another one. So we went around to everybody's, and everybody's was actually, some of them were pretty good. I thought some of them were pretty good, but most of them, as you would imagine, were pretty rudimentary. And then he got to mine and he picked it up and he looked at it. And he looked at me, and he looked at the painting, and he went, this isn't the first time you've painted watercolors, is it? And I went, no, it's not. He went, I thought so. I'm sorry. I just came to have some fun with it. I thought it was great. Okay, cool. So we've got our sky, or the majority of our sky. We've got some hills here. We'll put some color in front of those hills, and I'm going to do some horizontal lines. Hopefully that pushes it back a little bit. They can be bluer and they can be warmer or browner, but we need something to push those hills back even further than they are. Maybe we'll do a few trees back there at some point. But what I'm really liking is, as this Payne's Gray is drying up here, and Payne's Gray dries, roughly 50% lighter than it shows when you put it on initially. So we've still got some darker areas up here. We can still put some dark, right? If I put an arc of darkness up here and made this corner really dark and blended it out this way, and maybe on this side of the moon we can make that even darker. It would make this moon pop a bit more. Actually, we can put some structures on here too. That'd kind of be cool. But the lightness of this is now going to allow me to make this Chupacabra as dark or as light as I want it to, and it's going to stand out from the back. If I did nothing else to make this a warm color or a warmer color, it would pop from the back of this, no problem. So I'm glad that part is working at least, and this is drying pretty quickly, more quickly than I thought. I'm going to put a first layer of paint on this Chupacabra. And I want it to be a bit warmer. I do want it to be a bit warmer. Like I said, I always think of Chupacabras as more of a dog or fox or coyote type being or beast. I don't know if they really are, but that's the way I think of them more than anything. And so I want to represent it that way. I think dog fur, I think warmer. Even dogs that have a gray coat, I always think they're like a warm gray. So I want to stick in that area a little bit. But what I am going to do before I do any of that is I'm going to put some red. I'm using quinacridone rose here inside of its ears. Inside of its ears. Okay, and I've done quite a bit of talking. Does anybody have anything they want to talk about? Anything I want to throw out there? Please. If not, I'm just going to keep right on talking about whatever. I might even have to start talking about the ukulele that I used. I'll bring it back out here and do another show with the ukulele. No, No, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. How can this be a chupacabra? I normally do with my eyes last, but come on. I can't not give this a nice big red eye right there. Actually, it looks kind of like a mouse at this point. Okay. I'm going to be this first layer. I'm okay if it's a little colder. I'm okay if it's a little warmer. The first layer that I'm going to put on, I just want to get some color on here. I'm not completely concerned with what color it is. If it's close to the finished color, that's perfect. Actually, if it's not even that close to the finished color, it's probably still going to be fine. And it might actually even be better if we mixed in a few of these other colors. If we mixed in some neutral tint here, that would probably be kind of cool. I imagine the Chupacabra is not just one color. Probably like most animals, a mixture of many, many different colors. Now we really should do some fun facts for the old I forgot what I was going to say, for the old Chupacabra tonight. I actually have Wikipedia pulled up to do a few things. Has anybody seen, that's a great question. Kenya, great question. Has anybody seen a cryptid? Or have they seen anything that they can't really explain? I have one that I cannot explain to you. I have two things that I have personally witnessed that I can't explain. Is my head under there? Are you guys seeing my hair? That's no good. Nobody needs to see my hair. So if nobody has a story about anything that they have seen or anything like that, I'm happy to tell a story. It happens to be a true story of what I saw, and I will be honest, it freaked me out a little bit. So I should say, I really want to believe in cryptids and ghosts and, Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster and all of those kinds of things. I want them to be real. I think it's fun to believe that they could be. But if you really ask me, would I say they're a real thing? Probably not. Okay? Probably not. But I have seen some weird things. And I'll tell you the first weird thing. I grew up in an old farmhouse in a very rural area in Ohio. There were only, so I'm trying to think of, my town was 25 square miles. It was almost a perfect square, 5 miles by 5 miles on a side. Okay, it wasn't much bigger than that. And I think we had a couple of thousand people living there. Well, the house I grew up in was an old farmhouse, and that farmhouse had been around. Well, I can tell you, the farmhouse was built in 1880, and I know that because it had a slate roof, a slate tile roof, and the year was etched into, or not etched into, it was a different color than the rest of the tiles in the roof. It used to be I would assume it has done this in other areas of the country. if that's when your house was built or that's when they did the roofing on your house, they did that often to designate when it was done or when it was completed. So the roof went on this house 1880. I always thought it was funny. The house was done in 1880. I was living there in 1980. Our address was 1980. All the numbers, kind of met up. It was a weird kind of a thing. That's not the weirdness of the story. So knowing that it's an old farmhouse and it had some old history to it, I'm sure it had old history. I don't know what the history was. I do know that when we tried to renovate the house, remodel the house, whatever you want to call it, we kept finding all kinds of things stuffed in the rafters, between the joists, all over the place in the house. We would find bottles and containers and all such manner of things, which was all cool. We would get them out and we'd set them here and there. And one day I was watching TV in the living room, which was right next to the kitchen, a doorways away from the kitchen, and we had our phone almost in the doorway between the kitchen and the living room. And now anybody who's grown up in the 1980s knows that you had a phone that was central to the house, and you had a giant extension cord, not an extension cord, a curly cord, a telephone cord on it, so that you could walk quite a ways away. You could at least get far enough that you could get through a doorway, typically, and close the door and have some semblance of privacy while you were talking on the phone. It wasn't until later that, people started getting phones in their room or a second line. In rural Ohio, one line was plenty, and I didn't have that many friends. It's not like I was on the phone all that much anyways. So we had the one phone in the center of the house. It was red. It had about a 15-foot or 20-foot curly cord on it. And I remember watching a football game. Now, I don't remember if it was Monday Night Football or a Sunday night game. I would suspect it was a Sunday night game. But I will admit to not remembering necessarily that portion of the story. But I remember sitting in the living room, and again, I'm sitting in front of our 17-inch TV. That was black and white. No remote control, of course. You had to get up, and you had to turn the station if you wanted a different station. You had to adjust the rabbit ears if you wanted a different channel. Right? And so I had to sit fairly close to the TV, which meant I had a clear view into about half of the kitchen. And I look over, and the phone cord comes out from the wall. I'm like, okay, cool. And, the cords used to, not only were they curly, but they would wind themselves up, right? Well, not only did this phone cord come out from the wall, but it started to, unwind. So it made one big loop. So it unwound itself, and I kind of stared at it for a moment, I remember, and I guess I'd kind of always wondered if, since our house was so old, if it was kind of haunted or not. I don't remember being scared about it, but I do remember going, this is the strangest thing I have ever seen in my whole life. And by the time I thought enough to call out to my mother, it all collapsed and fell back against the wall, and that was it. Those things were hard to unwind. They were very, I don't know how they got wound up so much. It's not like you like twisted them and twisted them and twisted them. They just, I think, twisted on their own somehow. I think the cords themselves were haunted, is what I think. But that was a really weird thing for me. And to this day, I have no explanation of why that cord would ever come out from the wall. I have no explanation of why it would unwind. I have no explanation of why it would kind of collapse on itself, shrink back together, and fall back against the wall underneath the phone. And never did I see it move on its own ever again. That was the weirdest thing. Oops, and now my chair won't slide in. So there's one story I have of not really a cryptid, but a strange happening. All right, hold on a second. I've got two pieces of carpet that come together here, and I've got a 5-wheeled chair, and it always collects in that bump, and I can't scooch forward. Weird, right? Exactly. And now that I'm telling stories, I have to get a little drink of something. Sorry about that. Now, the other weird thing, I mean, we had a number of weird things that happened at my house, but the other weird thing that had happened at that house was that I was home alone one day, and being home alone happened a lot, was not uncommon. And as it was in the 80s, lots of us were home alone, waiting for our parents to get home from something. No semblance of helicopter parenting at all. It was I'm not going to be here. Take care of yourself. I'll see you when I get home. Cool. Thanks, Mom. I'll try not to wreck the house while you're not here. I was there, and I did hear a strange noise coming from our basement. And now I told you that our house was 100 years old in 1980. Well, as you would imagine, with a 100-year-old house, it wasn't built to normal standards. Right? It had a flagstone, a stacked stone foundation, meaning stones were stacked one on top of another until it reached a certain height, and at that height, then you put the rest of the house, you built the rest of the house on that. Well, that's neither here nor there, but it does, make for a basement that things get in and out of. They can burrow in and out of. There are lots of creepy crawlies in there. When it rains, it comes in through the sides. It's certainly not watertight like houses are today, and the basement always seemed a little odd and a little creepy down there to me. My father tried to make the basement a better place by concreting in the floor. Oh yeah, the floor, I should say, the floor had, thick slate slabs down, about 4 feet by 4 feet each, nothing in between them, no grout, no anything. So when the water came in the side of the house, it just drained out the bottom, or the side of the basement, it drained out the bottom. It'd be wet in there for hours, and then it would just drain away, and it would eventually dry out. Anyway, my father tried to modernize the house, let's say it that way. Put some concrete on the floor and on the walls. It kind of helped. It didn't really help. I was home alone. My father at the time was living in a different town. My mother was working. My brother had gone off to the Navy, and it's me home alone, wondering what the heck I'm doing in this house. I hear a noise downstairs. Oh, okay, fine. I opened the door, I walked downstairs, didn't see anything down there. Fine, some animal got down here. Not a big deal. I don't see it. That's got to be what it is. Some small animal has gotten down here, and I'm going to try not to worry about it. Awesome. Go back upstairs, do whatever it is I'm doing, continue to hear that noise. That's not a noise I recognize. That's not an animal noise. About a minute later, I hear this big boom. I'm like, okay, I want to go down and see what this is, but I don't want to go down and see what this is. I'm too curious not to know about it, but I'm too smart. I've seen too many horror movies to know that you're supposed to go down there on your own because bad things happen as soon as you do that. Well, curiosity kind of won out, and I wandered down there. What I found was actually kind of astonishing. So we had a lot of fluorescent lights in the basement, in our barn, and different places. And in the floor joists, we had X's that would, help to support the floor above it. One of the things we used to do in those X's was we would slide things in there and use them for storage. Cool. We had a whole bunch of these light bulbs slid in there to store, right? Fluorescent tubes, 4 feet long. They were there for years and years and years. That noise, that boom that I heard, were the bulbs coming out and falling on the ground. I'm like, I don't know how that happens. That is not something I would think should ever happen. Those shouldn't work themselves out. They shouldn't be falling on the ground. And it's another thing to this day, I have no idea how that ever happened. So there you go. There for me are two weird stories from me growing up. I cannot explain in any way, shape, or form those two things. So I'm gonna pose it this way: does anybody have any other stories similar to that they're willing to talk about? I'm willing to talk about those because they happened a long time ago. I can't explain. I couldn't explain them then. I can't explain them now. They're curious. They're exceedingly curious. And if anybody has any ideas, I would love to hear what you think it might be. So I'm going to do a little bit of shading on this guy. And who put something up? Kenya's got a story. Okay, cool. I hope, I don't want everybody to be scared about stuff, but I hope everybody has a curious story like that. That's probably what got me started with weird things, and I will admit I do have a fascination with Bigfoot. Let's see. Kenya says, I saw a large hyena-type animal cross in front of my car. It had a sloping back with shortened back legs and a large wedge-shaped head. It was huge. My boss was in the car and also said, wow. Okay. Yikes. Oh, so when you say huge, are we talking like 4 feet tall, or are we talking like 6 feet tall? What is huge? I'm not doubting your story in any way, shape, or form. I just want to know how scared you should have been. I want to guess how scared I would have been. How about if I put it that way? How scared of that whole situation would I have been? What's a huge thing? Sadiq says, my favorite was when my cats would start looking up towards the ceiling and they wouldn't look back and forth. What? I don't know. Yeah. This was in Florida Everglades. I would call it wolf-sized. Whoa. Okay. That's wolf size is. I think we can all extrapolate what wolf size is. It's a big-ish several feet at least tall, frightening nonetheless. English is hard. I'm just going to say English is hard. And Sudike, I'm always creeped out when my animals look at something and I can't tell what they're looking at. Are they looking at something that's there and I can't see it, or are they looking at something that's not there and they're just being a weird cat? I don't know the answer to that. Either way, it freaks me out. I'm with you though. Animals that look at things that aren't there are a little creepy. I did have, it was when when your dog growls at nothing in the corner. Yes, exactly. Yes. My mind always goes, is there some kind of interdimensional creature there? Is there somebody on a different plane that's hiding out there that we should know about? What? I want to know. What? Why are you doing it? Just tell me. All right, I'm making this leg a little darker, right? This is the back leg. It's back underneath. It needs to be a little bit darker. We might have to come back in and add a little bit more. But I want it to be bluer up underneath, and then maybe a lighter color as it comes down, but dark nonetheless. It's that moon is behind it, and so it's got to have some darkness to it. It can't be light. So what was I going to say? I did have a cool story. This isn't a cryptid story. This isn't a scary story. This is a fascinating thing, and if you've ever heard these stories, you'll immediately go, oh, I have a brother, I have a cousin, I have somebody who had a similar thing happen. I had just moved out to Los Angeles. I was living with my mother. I had my cat with me. My cat's name was Wolfgang, and Wolfgang was a large. I'm going to be kind and call him large. He was an extremely big cat. He must have had some Maine Coon in him because he was a very large-sized cat. Well, Wolfgang didn't like too many people other than me, which to me was totally fine. And, having picked him out when he was a kitten, I think at his biggest he was 28 or 29 pounds. And believe it or not, he was not all that fat. His front legs were about that big around. You couldn't get your fingers around him. Anyways, I just moved out to LA, living with my parents. Wolfie is living in my room, right? His litter box is in there. He's fed in my room. He didn't go out of my room at the house all that much. So of course, when I come home from school, I was going back to school at the time. When I come home from school, I spend some time with him. I don't want him to feel lonely, so whenever I can, I'm in my room with him. He sleeps right there with me. Everything's good. At night, he'd sleep on my bed. Of course, he's a cat, all right? He likes to sleep on the bed, right? He likes to sleep right next to you. Nothing weird about that. All of a sudden, one night, he starts walking over the pillow, right over top of my head. Wakes me up. He starts, walking around the bed like this, and I'm like, Wolfie, what is going on? What is going on? So he's trying to push me. He's doing all these things that are really weird and out of character for him. All of a sudden, he jumps off the bed and hides under the bed. Okay, cool. I get out of bed and I get underneath. I'm like going, what is going on with you? Why are you hiding out under here? What's the deal? Why are you being so weird? All of a sudden, earthquake. Earthquake comes, rattles the house for, I'm going to say, a good 30 seconds, maybe a little bit longer. I'm a little freaked out about it. That was one of the first earthquakes I had been in. And by the way, I put this on a little too soon. I'm gonna kind of blend this out, and we'll come back and we'll adjust this color when this dries. I thought that was a little drier than it is. Anyway, world shakes for 30 seconds or so. 30 seconds after it stops, Wolfie gets back up on the bed, rubs up against me, lays back down. Kenya, you're right. He knew. How he knew, I have no idea. But he knew, and to this day, I totally believe he's just warning me. He wanted me to know something bad was about to happen. How he knew, like I said, no clue. No possible way he could ever have known that an earthquake was coming, except he knew that an earthquake was coming. It was one of the coolest, craziest things that I've gone through, and Wolfie right there with me. He was there for a lot of adventures. He was my car cat. He would take adventures with me, whether he wanted to or not. He was with me when we got stuck in a blizzard. The gas in my gas tank froze up. He was with me for that. He was with me for my full move out to California. He was a wonderful cat, and then I traded him. I traded my cat. Now I will say I traded Wolfie with my mother, whose house I was living at, and he was completely fine with her by the time I moved out. But she had a cat named Sooks, and Sooks was not okay with anybody except for me. And so because Sooks was such a scaredy cat of everything but me, I adopted Sooks. I traded Wolfie out. I adopted Sooks, and Wolfie lived a good long life, and I believe had a lot of fun, and for that matter, I think Sooks did too. Sooks has an interesting story too, because this is sad but good. So follow me on this. Sooks lived until the day before my wedding. My wife and I were living in a 1-bedroom. Actually, I guess it was a 0-bedroom. It was a 1-bedroom little place. We had a couple of cats. Sooks was one of them. By this time, she was like 15 years old. She was, she was not long for life, but she was so cute. And I loved her to death. She was such a fantastic cat after she got over being afraid of absolutely everything. And my wife and I were, like I said, we're getting ready for the wedding. The day after the wedding, we're going on our honeymoon. We're all stressed out about what is going to happen with Sooks during our honeymoon, because we're going out of country. Who knows? I don't know if I'm ever going to get to see her again. And like I said, 2 days before, whatever it was, day before, 2 days before, Sooks passed away. And while it was super sad, I was super happy that I could be there with Sooks at the end, and she was there with people that she knew, and I think it all worked out that way for a reason. Sooks was so funny. She's a little tiny little cat. and she was a rescue. Of course, she was a rescue, and she didn't. I like to say she didn't like anything. I think what the real story was is she just didn't know how to play. Well, one Christmas, Santa brought her something that was called a mouseltoe. Right? It was a felt mouse about this long with a string tail and a piece of mistletoe or holly, I guess. I don't know. I don't even know exactly what it was. Sewn onto the string of the tail. All right? That was a mouseletoe. Cool. She loved it. And she would carry that thing around everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean everywhere. She wouldn't go anywhere without it. She was like a little kid with a new toy or a doll, a little girl with a doll or a boy with a G.I. Joe or a new little handheld game or something. Oh man, that was part of her. That little thing was part of her. And when she would carry it around, she made the worst noise. It was like a I think she wasn't very good at purring because she just hadn't done it for 10 years of her life or something. And I remember getting this goofy mouseletoe out of her water dish, out of the litter box, out of everywhere. She would just carry it around and every now and again just leave it somewhere. And she had that thing for 4 or 5 years, and I would wash it, and it just kept, it's like a stuffed animal that a kid has. It starts out looking great. Every time you got to throw it in the washer, it maybe looks a little worse, and pretty soon you're going, might be time to get rid of this. But I could never make myself get rid of it because she enjoyed it so much. And she had other toys she could have played with, but for whatever reason, man, that was it. That was the one she wanted to play with. So I could never get rid of it. Oh, she was such a good little cat for a long, long time. Oh, little Sooks. And I have no idea what Sooks means. The toy was her baby. It totally was her baby. It totally was. Okay, I'm just telling stories at this point. You're all just listening to stories of Michael. Stories of Michael Yore. I don't know if this makes good YouTube or not. I guess while I'm telling stories, let me lean back and say, while I'm telling stories, I'm mixing ultramarine blue with burnt umber. That gives me this gray, and they're two great colors to mix. And I can mix something that's really bluer here and mix it to something that's warmer here, and it makes a wonderful transition when you transition between those two colors. The two colors, it may not seem like they should go together all that well, but they do. They go together wonderfully. I love using these two colors. And so I'm going around now. I'm trying to add some bigger areas of color, maybe a few smaller areas, but some of the bigger areas where there needs to be some color here and there. And then we'll come back at the end and we'll start adding all the little tiny details. But there are a few areas in here where we need to have some bigger color. Right in here, I need to make some color too. I need to put some color. I don't know, right in through here somewhere. Right, he's got like a hip bone back here or something. I don't know what goes back here. But I want to make sure we got some color on here. And then we can start to add some more stuff to him. Once you've got that base color on him, we can really start to, and we don't even need to add this filler detail. We can get to some of this later. But I want to make sure I got some color on him. I want a little bit of dark here, then a little bit of light. Actually, I'm going to kind of blend this up a little bit. I'm going to take all of that kind of up a little bit. Darker, then a little bit lighter, then it's got to go a little bit darker. I'll probably leave this pretty light so we know there's a difference between the chest here and his arm. And I think he's got a good start to him. I think he's got a fantastic start to him. I think what I need to do now is I need to step away from the wolf itself, or the Chupacabra. The wolf. He's not a wolf. He's a Chupacabra. Get it right, Michael. Come on. I'm going to step away from the Chupacabra for the moment, and I'm going to focus on the middle ground. Right? I'm going to focus on this middle area here, and I'm going to put some color in there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this whole thing upside down. This is because this is easier for me to do. And I can put a little bolder color up here, right? So this is, Chupacabras typically in the south, lots of times in the southwest is where you're going to find them. If you're out looking for them, that's the best place to go look for them. Well, that's where I think of them, is in more of a deserty area. So I'm going to start up here with some ochre, maybe a little gray in that ochre. And then as I move it back, that ochre is going to blend out and it's going to be more gray. And then it's going to meet up back here somewhere. So let's see if we can do that. All right. Where's the gray? Up here. I'll start with my ochre. I can throw in some of this burnt umber too. That's a good deserty nighttime color, I think. Let's see. That's a good deserty nighttime color. I'm going to get a slightly larger brush. This is one of those times when I think it's really good to go back and get a little larger brush. So we can just cover a little bit area a little bit more quickly. I want to try to keep a bit of a wet edge. It doesn't need to be perfect wet, but I want to be able to work with it a little bit. A little bigger brush will allow that to happen a little bit more. And plenty of water on here. All right, this is going to go up to our barn here. Our goats. I almost called them sheep. They're not sheep. They're goats. It's the Chupacabra's a goat sucker. I got to call them goats. So let's see how many people we got in here. We got a half a dozen people or so. Everybody here? Is everybody here a regular here? If there are any new people in here, reach out, say hello. I love meeting new people. If you don't know, if you're new, if you are new here and you don't know, I love doing this stream, and I love talking watercolors on the stream. I've been lucky enough to get a lot of help on my watercolor journey along the way, and I'm always willing to give back. It's one of the things I like to do is help others understand watercolors a little better. So if you've got any questions about anything, throw them out there. Take it with a grain of salt. I may not be the best watercolor painter in the world. I'm okay with that. I think I do a pretty good job with it, and I've got a lot of experience with it. Even if I don't do the, air quote here, the best watercolor painting, I've got a lot of experience with it that I'm willing to share with everybody. if you take some of the things I've done and run with it, you probably do a better job than I will, or anybody would probably do a better job than I will. I'm okay with that. I would love if somebody were on one of my streams and said, hey, I took this advice from you and I started painting and I became some world-renowned, fantastic artist, or something you said really helped inspire me, or so, I don't know. It'd be wonderful. I think we would all like something like that. It'd be absolutely fantastic. Don't know if it'll ever happen, and that's okay too. I said I was going to turn this upside down, and then I turned it right side up again. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what you want to do. Sometimes. But in general, I want to, as I bring this forward, I want this to be a brighter, a better color as it comes forward towards us in the foreground. A lighter color, a bluer color as it goes back. He's going to push it back. Blue does that because of the atmosphere. We don't pick it up in our eye in real life because it happens too easily, too naturally. But if you look for it, it's there. Things that are further away are bluer. That is as a result of going through the atmosphere more. The more it's got to go through the atmosphere, the bluer it's going to get. Due to refraction of light. That's not a me thing. Oh, that's not too bad. That's not too. I mean, my line up here. It's a little odd, and somebody put a giant hair on there, but I think we could easily fix this and straighten our line out there. Oh yeah, right there. Okay, and we can put some trees or something back there if we want to, but we're starting to develop the areas here. It's starting to. Wait, Liza's here. Liza's here. Welcome, Liza. I can't stay long. I have to be up early in the morning, but I'll catch a replay. You're all good. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for saying hello. I appreciate that a great deal. Thank you for that. Anything you can contribute is great, Liza. You know that. So thank you for taking time to stop by and say hello. It is, Liza, if you didn't get the message, it is Cryptid month, and so I'm starting Cryptid month by painting a Chupacabra, and we'll see how this one goes. I'm gonna move into. I should let everybody know. I guess everybody can know. There's not really going to be a whole lot of secrets. I've got a few to choose from. I'm going to do all of the big ones. I'm going to do all the big ones. So I'm going to do Bigfoot, of course. How could I not do Bigfoot? I'm going to do Mothman. So I grew up in Ohio. Everybody knows I grew up in Ohio. That's nothing new, and not far from Point Pleasant. I mean, not it wasn't right next door, but not too far from Point Pleasant. Heard stories of Mothman growing up, so I want to do Mothman painting. Like I said, I've already got that one drawn. I'm excited to do that. We'll be doing. What are we gonna do? Maybe a Wendigo. We might do a Wendigo. We might do the Loch Ness Monster. Bigfoot saw me, but Bigfoot saw, but nobody believes him. That's fun. Bigfoot is, as everybody knows, he is the world's hide and seek champ. So, he's good. He's good. Sometimes you think you see him and then he's gone, and you're not really sure if you saw him. He's good. He doesn't get to be hide and seek champ for nothing. He's very good. There we go. A couple of rocks here. Yeah, so I'm debating. I've got a big debate, and there's a big debate in my house. Should I do my own kind of take on Bigfoot, or should I try to do a painting from the original Patterson Gimlin film? Right, Patterson Gimlin were the two guys who originally filmed him out in the forest in Northern California. Could do take, my own take on that. Could be really fun. Or it could do just a take on a different Bigfoot. Let's see. I saw a movie about Bigfoot when I was about 8. And Liza, did it affect your entire life? I hope so. I see. I love Bigfoot. I think Bigfoot is fantastic. And I really want Bigfoot to be real. I want aliens to be real. Because, and whether they are or not, quite honestly to me, makes no real difference. But I like having the belief that it could be real. Oh, wouldn't that be fun if there really was a Bigfoot? Oh, let's think about that. How interesting would that be? That would be so much fun to have a Bigfoot. So I'm always like, oh, that's awesome. I want to, I'm like Fox Mulder. I want to believe. I want there to be a Bigfoot, whether there is or not. No, it did not, but I really bought into him for a long time. Cool. I'm always surprised that more people don't buy in or, get curious about it. Is it real? I don't know. Is Bigfoot real? No clue. Would it be awesome if he was? Oh man, absolutely. I would love to see, some research dollars spent at trying to figure out if Bigfoot is real. We have some weird things. We don't know what's out in the forest. Nobody lives in the forest. Right? Would it be cool if we had some research money set aside to figure out if Bigfoot was real? Yes. How neat would it be? All right, look, there's my moon. My moon's got some stuff on it. It might not be our moon. That's okay. It's an moon. It's an moon. There's a moon. All right, and you know what? I said, well, we got to move along a little bit. I need to move along. Let's see. What do I need to do? So moon's kind of cool. When this is dried, I'm gonna do a little bit to hopefully make this a little rounder or more rounder. Let's quickly do a little bit of our house over here, or our hut, whatever we're gonna call this thing, this shack over here. I think we can do something pretty quickly with this. It's in the dark, right? It's not going to be all that illuminated. It shouldn't be all that illuminated. What's more, I don't want it to overshadow our Chupacabra here, so more muted colors over here. And we can paint over top of these windows. The windows are just going to be black spots, so that's okay. We'll paint around our goats here, or I'm going to try to paint around our goats. If I can keep some water on here. Paint around our goats. Come on, goats. I like goats. If I had more property, I'd get some goats to go with my chickens. Goats are fun. Let's see, let's put a little blue up underneath the eaves here, just because because nighttime. All right, let's get some, there we go. Let's get some blue up underneath there. We'll see you all back here next week. Paint down. Oh, Liza's got to go. Okay. Liza, thank you, Liza, for stopping by. Good night. Like I said, thank you for stopping by. I'm glad you could. I hope you get up and what, I don't know what you have to do in the morning, but I hope you get up and everything goes well for you tomorrow. Let's see, let's get some more blue over. You know what? Let's do a lot of blue over here. Let's get some more blue going over here. There we go. Blue, blue, blue. There's our little hut over there. I'm gonna wait on the roof over there. Okay, so I got a wet barn. I'm gonna call it a barn. We've got a moon over here. Let's go back and focus on our Chupacabra here and start adding some extra colors in here, right? And some shading. Gonna use a mixture of our burnt umber, Payne's gray, and ultramarine blue. And I'm betting that between the three of these we can probably get something on here that's going to look nice. This looks a little weird. This is some thicker paint. I'm going to hope that I can blend this out a little bit, and these will look like some straining areas here. A little bit, I'm hoping. If they don't, you know what the good thing is we can just pull that right on off of there. I think we'll be able to pull that off. Right, and let's say there's a bone right in there somewhere, like the shoulder blade or something. Let's make that stand out a little bit. And if we can connect that down to the bottom down here, so much the better. Look at that. So I think I have talked about Andy Everson in the past. If anybody wants to see a fantastic painter, Andy Everson is unbelievable. One of the things Andy always talks about is making sure that you have connections in your painting, right? You can't have things not overlap. You can't have things that are just kind of on their own. In this case, you can't have some color that's not going to connect across the body. You need something across the body to show that it's a complete body. If you have nothing there, then and this paint is far too thick. If you have nothing there connecting the two sides, then it's just two spots. But as soon as you get something that's going to connect those two, then you've got something going. And that is connected, but at this point in time, you know what I need to do? I need to darken this up down here a little bit. So I'm going to drop a little bit of dark on here. And I'm going to pull that up. There we go. And now we've got our shadow down underneath again, just like we had it before. Easy as that. I'm going to pull that up. There. Okay, cool. Actually, this maybe should be a little lighter up here. If I can pull just a little bit of that color off, maybe not all of it, but a little bit of that color. That probably looks a lot better. That probably looks a lot better. And this is part of knowing what your paints do when they're wet, what your paints do when they're dry, being able to get some of these lines on here, and what you can and what you cannot do. We're just going to drop in some lines here. And each time I put in a little bit of color, it should help. All right, I'm going to say should. It should help add to the musculature of this beast. Right? That's the goal. That's the goal. If you can put some color on here and it helps add to what we're doing, cool. Let's leave it on there. If it doesn't add to it, let's take it off of there. We at that point, we probably don't need it. And I realized that I just put that color on and I had to take that color off. And now I'm putting the color back on again. I put it on too thick and then I tried to spread it and my brush was too wet. This is going to be round 2 trying to do this. Well, not a lot of questions. Oh, I'll pose a question. If I do, so I've got 5 weeks in October to paint cryptids. So I think I've got 3 or 4 that I know I'm going to paint. Well, I've got the Mothman, I've got Bigfoot, I've got a Chupacabra. What else should I paint? Right? What else would be something good that you guys would want to see? Does anybody know what the Wendigo is? Does anybody know what Champ is in Lake Champlain? Does anybody know Champ? Champ might not be one everybody knows. Everybody knows who Nessie is, right? Everybody knows the Loch Ness Monster. I hope everybody knows the Loch Ness Monster. Oh, it would hurt me if not everybody knew the Loch Ness Monster. What would be another one you guys would want to see? And Champ is fun. I actually haven't looked to see if there are any good pictures of Champ. Or if I would need to make my own Champ picture. Right, we have a lot we can choose from. We do have a lot of cryptids to choose from. We could do my suggestion, which got shot down by my kids, was the Moke Mbembe. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Moke Mbembe? Moke Mbembe? That is a dinosaur that is supposedly living in the Congo. Which I think is kind of fun. There are, again, like Bigfoot, there are tracks in theory. There are plenty of stories. Unfortunately, anybody who's telling those stories, or I should say, of all of the people telling those stories, none of them seem to have a digital camera or a phone with them when they encountered oh my God, however you say that. I know what you're talking about. I can't spell it. That would be interesting. Let me see. This is Mokele Mbembe. There it is. Mokele dash Mbembe. Mokele Mbembe. It's supposed to be a prehistoric dinosaur hiding out. I think it's a cool story. Like I said, I think it's pretty cool. I don't know if everybody thinks it's as cool as I do. I guess not everybody has to think it's as cool as I do, but I think it's extremely cool. Who wouldn't want to see a big dinosaur living today? That would be fun. That would be exceedingly fun. Okay, got a couple of details on here. A couple of details. I'm going to put a little bit down here. Be a line there. A line there. Let's see. I'm going to put it on the backs of his fingers. Probably got some shadow area over here. I'm going to try to put on a little bit. Mokele Mbembe. That's fun. It's just, that one's just fun to say. It would be cool to see a plant-eating dinosaur. So, I'm with you. Dwayne, I'm with you. And if we can find, if the Mokele Mbembe is a plant eater, we're in there. If not, we might have to save that for Dinosaur Week, or Dinosaur Month. Which, again, would be a lot of fun to do. I don't know, there's no reason we can't do a Dinosaur Month. Dinosaurs are awesome to paint. Dinosaurs are fun. Vegisaurus. A Vegisaurus. All right, how many people watched Jurassic Park? Everybody watch Jurassic Park? What do you call a dinosaur that needs glasses? What do you call a dinosaur that needs glasses? This was in Jurassic Park. This was, I believe, just before the ride in the Jeeps broke down. Or when they're walking around as a result, maybe. What do you call a dinosaur that needs glasses? You ready? You ready? Do you think he saw us? Close. Close. Do you think he saw us? Close. Very close. You forgot one key feature. It's a do you think he saw us Rex? But yes, you're right there. Do you think he saw us? You know what? I'm gonna give you credit anyways. I'm giving you credit for it. I like it. I like it. Do you think he saw us? Do you think he saw us? Let's see. This guy's got. I'm gonna give this guy some yellow, right around his red eyes here. Ooh. Right around those eyes. Very wolf-like head he's got. See, a black nose. One of the coolest places I've been is Dinosaur Valley in Texas. All right, so that would be cool. So Dwayne, tell us, how long ago were you there, and what is it? Is it a totally curated thing, or do you get to go out and just walk around and try to find? Maybe not, like prospect or dig for or anything like that, but do you get to go out and see where they've dug for different dinosaurs? And are there some still in the ground and whatnot? I do think that would be exceedingly cool. And I'm jealous. Honestly, I'm jealous. I would love to do something like that. I did go to the La Brea Tar Pits in LA. Probably not nearly as cool, but when you think that you're in the middle of Los Angeles and there's a place where they're actively doing dinosaur dig in the city of Los Angeles, it's pretty neat. It's pretty cool to think about. It stinks. It smells like oil, but exceedingly cool. And you said you can walk the creek where the tracks have been uncovered. Wow. Did you see the tracks? Or are they right there? Are they... I'm kind of speechless. Are they covered? You always wanted to go to the tar pits. The tar pits are pretty cool. I mean, they're not as big as you might think. The whole area is very small. The park is not all that big, but it's cool to go and see because it's right there, and it's an active site, and you can walk right over the pit where they're doing an active dig, and you can look down and see what they're doing down there. I love the the La Brea Tar Pits. I used to go there as a kid all the time. Oh, Kenya, what was your favorite thing about the La Brea Tar Pits? You step around it over the prints. Oh man, see, I don't want to say everybody gets to do fun stuff, but me. But that's to me, walking around and seeing that amount of geologic history would be so cool to see. You know, I did different cool stuff growing up, so I'm not saying I don't get to do anything. And we do different cool stuff here. But oh man, how cool! Unforgettable, absolutely. Wow, how old? So tell me, are we talking Jurassic? Are we talking Triassic? Are we talking Cretaceous? How old are the tracks that are laid down there? Or millions of years. Let's go with that. If you know. Because that would be so cool to see, so cool to do. I will admit I have been out and seen some petroglyphs in southern Utah, and that was extremely cool. 113 million. Holy cow! Wow. 113 million years old. Wow. So I'll tell you one thing. This has nothing to do with me. I mean, it does have something to do with me. So we have an area out here, and now that I brought it up, I can't remember the name of it. But what's remarkable about it is it's nowhere near the shoreline. It's nowhere near the ocean. It's 30 miles inland, okay? And it's mile upon mile. Oh, Michelle was here. Hello, hello, welcome. It's mile and mile and mile and mile of shells. Right? Nothing but shells. Just bleached out from being in the sun, seashells. And my wife was out there one day, tooling around, looking around, seeing what was there. She's always trying to find cool stuff. I do it too. I'm always, looking to find cool stuff when we're out and about. She happened to be out there and looked down and found a megalodon tooth in and amongst all of the shells. Just sitting there like nothing. Picked it up, brought it home. So we now have a fossilized megalodon tooth at our house, which is extremely cool. But I'm totally jealous of walking with the dinosaur tracks. Oh man, how cool! That would be one of the coolest things. I'm going to say something that was nothing as cool as that. The history of this, not anywhere near 113 million. It's not even near 100 years old. But about 10 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that, I was lucky enough, the whole family, right? We all went down, but I was lucky enough to go and see the space shuttle, which is housed at a museum not far from the University of Southern California campus. That's kind of how we all describe it, because the History Museum is right there. And I actually cried when I was there, because I just remember growing up. I had pictures of the space shuttle on my wall. I had a what do you call it? A cutaway of it, so you could see all the components. It's from like Popular Mechanics or something like that. You could see all of the components in there. To me, growing up, that was the coolest thing, was seeing the space shuttle. And that's only, I don't know how old the space shuttle is. 60 years? 50? No, 60. No. It was the 80s. 40 years old. Oh my, I'm I'm making myself older than I am. Well, let's just say, not really old. Right? And that was incredibly cool to see. But man, to be able to walk along the route that a dinosaur would have walked, just unbelievable. Unbelievable. That would be so cool. All right, I got some teeth on this guy now. He's looking pretty wolfish, wolf adjacent. Right? He's not a wolf, but I don't know that a chupacabra is a wolf, but it's a wolf-like creature to me. I think he's starting to develop a good amount of personality here. Right? I think he's starting to look scary-ish. I think if I met this guy in an alley, I'd, maybe probably do a second take and go, I should probably go a different way. Okay, like I said, I want to leave this lighter. I want to leave this arm lighter. Actually, I want to make behind this arm back here darker. Make this whole arm stand out. Let's make this whole area a little bit darker back here. There we go. Let's give a little bit of blue. There you go. And where I said I kind of screwed up on the neck, actually I think it looks kind of neat now. Makes it look kind of interesting up here. I'm glad when I do something that kind of looks a little off to begin with, and you work with it a little bit, and then it turns out to be kind of neat. Kind of makes me feel good. He's got like he's really straining in his neck there. Let's see. A little bit more on the rock over here, maybe. Let's see. This maybe is a whole separate rock, something like that. And let's bring that down, something like this. There we go. Now we have a second rock there. The one he's standing on, the one right next to it. All of a sudden, let's get some slightly different colors in here. Make it stand out a little bit more. Yeah. Okay, I can go with that. You know what? This guy's got some toenails. I do like the goats back here. I'm glad the goats kind of worked out. Goats are cute. We were going to. Oh, look, he's ready. He's ready to jump on. Michelle is here. Michelle, you would have a kind of a different take on everything than the rest of us. If I ran into that, I would seriously believe it real. Michelle, so over here, right, we have a few different cryptids, right? Bigfoot is everybody's favorite cryptid on this side of the pond. On your side of the pond, what's the favorite cryptid? What does everybody like over there? Is it Loch Ness? You know the Loch Ness monster. Is it Nessie? I don't even know if you guys call him or her Nessie. That's what I've always grown up calling the Loch Ness monster. I'm trying to think of some additional cryptids to paint, and I've got, maybe the Jersey Devil. How about the Loch Ness is big? Okay, cool, right? He's big over here too. He's a big star. And if we could ever book him on a talk show over here, I think his fame would just blow up. I love the story of Loch Ness. I think it's fantastic. I want it to be true. Every time did everybody grow up watching the TV specials about Loch Ness where they're going to send divers down and they're going to do sonar and they're going to, test the water for DNA and they're going to do all these different things. I love watching those. I'm fascinated by them. I probably don't need to be. I probably shouldn't be, but I can't. Once I see that one is on, I can't turn it off. I cannot. It's never going to work for me to turn it off. How about painting a a troll? A troll G? Is a GE part of the troll? What's a troll G? Maybe I need to look something up here. What is that? Should I know that? should I know what that is? We're not talking like a mountain trail that Harry Potter beat in the bathroom there or anything, right? A Black Panther of Bodmore. Okay, cool. So, Michelle, please tell me if I'm wrong. So, the legend of the Black Panther is that there is a large cat, not a domestic cat, a large cat living on the moor, and from time to time, farm animals go missing or turn up and have been partially mutilated, and they think or they want to blame it on this black cat or black panther, I guess. Do I have the right story with that? I think that's right. And there are some pictures of some cats, and everybody says that they are a panther, a large cat, because of the tail. A gargoyle. Oh, a gargoyle. Okay, cool. Now yeah, see. But okay, but my question is a Black Panther of Bodmore sounds mysterious. It does. Is a gargoyle a cryptid? That's my question. Right? Because now a gargoyle, right, we all know a gargoyle to be, one of those things that scares away evil spirits typically on Catholic churches, but on different bits of architecture. But the question is are they a thing that we know, that we invented, or are they an actual cryptid? That's something we need to figure out. Yeah, it kind of looks like a panther, kind of an animal. Yeah, okay. All right. That might be one worth looking into. The Black Panther of Bodmore. Okay, let's see. We've got some feet here. We've got a few shadows on some feet that we need to do. Some lining down here. Might be a little thicker than I wanted. Not sure it's going to matter all that much. If your focus is on the feet, I've done something wildly wrong. Right, some sinew, some tendon, something going up that leg. All these little details can help grow that in front. I'm going to put a little bit of some dark on the top of this. Let's see. We have the hairy hand of Dartmoor. The hairy hands of Dartmoor, which are ghosts-like hands that take the steering wheels, causing accidents. That's interesting. So I do have a question for you. I'm not judging the hairy hands, the hairy hands of Dartmoor and Yorkshire. If they grab the steering wheel, what did they grab before the steering wheel? Did they take the reins of a coach, or I'm again not judging, just asking. I'm genuinely curious about the myth as much as anything. Let's see. This guy now has to cast the shadow kind of this way, or let's see, this way. So let's see here. This one, come on. This one kind of this way. And shadow, let's see, up here should start to get a little bit bigger. I don't know. That should do it. That should be enough shadow for that guy. But I said I was going to do something in the background back here. Quick little something to finish up on our kind of horizon line. I've heard of Yorkshire Yeti. Okay. I like the Yeti concept. The thing I'm not wild about the Yeti concept is because I do love Bigfoot, and the Yeti not too far from Bigfoot. But here's my concern with the Yeti is the Yeti is typically white, and white is oftentimes a difficult color to do in watercolor painting. And so I might have to stay away from any Yeti. The woolly mammoth, but the woolly mammoth is an actual creature. We know the woolly mammoth. I don't think the woolly mammoth qualifies as a cryptid per se. Bunny Ips. Bunny Ips. Oh, Michelle, I'm Australian and more in tune with bunny hips. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so Australian. I would imagine Australia has plenty of cryptids. I don't know, without fully knowing, would be my guess. Bunny yips. Bunny yips. I'll have to look up bunny yips. I don't know what bunny yips are. They sound interesting. I like the name. Tell me about the bunny yips. Bunny yips, but bun yips. Okay, okay, bun yips. I still like it. Tell me about bun yips a little bit. What do I need to know about bun yips? Bun yips. What's cool about bun yips? I just looked up Troll GE and it's really creepy. Okay. It's an internet thing though, right? It's not, is it? So I'm trying, I want to just do cryptids. I'm holding the line on actual cryptids. I've no doubt that the trolls are creepy. They're probably like clowns. Clowns are pretty creepy. I don't like clowns. All right, so we got some trees back here in front of our mountains. And I'm going to pull this down, this line down. So we have a nice a really nice graded wash all the way down here. I don't want any lines other than the ones I'm about to put in. All right, we can put in some, if we're going to put some in, they have to be going in horizontally, because that's going to add to the depth of our picture. And this does look like it's a bit of a mess, but watch, I'll just come onto this side, blend it out a little bit, and that should keep it horizontal. Boop, and the more we do this, do a little line here, right? A couple of lines here and there. It should start to add depth to this. I will look up to see what the bunny, not the bunyip, the troll G is. The troll G is. I'll look it up. I'm not totally poo-pooing it. Could you make up a cryptid based off the woolly mammoth? How about a kangamouth has a pouch and resembles a woolly mammoth with a pouch? Well, I guess, right? I could do a jackalope, right? We all know the jackalope, the famous jackalope. I hadn't thought about just making one up, but certainly we could do that. That might just be just as much fun. It's found in wetlands and ponds and kind of a dragon like, lives in and around water, amphibious like fangs, sort of chimera creature with various. Whoop, 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 whoop. There are people claiming to have seen woolly mammoths. Okay, cool. So I'm going to put the woolly mammoth in kind of with the can you help me out here? The Mokele Mbembe. Right? I'm going to put it kind of in the same category as the Mokele Mbembe, which is, you know, not, it's not a, it's a dinosaur, but since dinosaurs were a real thing and we think they went extinct, it probably can easily be considered a cryptid, I would think. All right, so we've got some areas here that hopefully make it look like it's got some vertical depth to it. You know what? I want to put a couple of lines over here. I got some lines over there. I want to get some on this side. Let's even this out a little bit. Right? That's going to help quite a bit if we even that out. And I'm not going to blend these in too much. I'm going to leave it kind of like that. Actually, I kind of like this. I kind of like this. I like where we're going with this. I think this guy has turned out really pretty good. Really, really nice. I'm just gonna soften down the edge of the moon here. I got the super bright moon, full moon, of course. Super bright, shining away on top of our Chupacabra. Could I make, all right, see now, light star, now you got me thinking about this. Should I just be making up my own cryptids? I think the problem I have is if I make it up, I think it's going to be cool. Jack-a-larper, a jackosaur, part jackrabbit, part dinosaur, jackosaur. All right, there. Oh, and you know what? Let's give. His teeth need to be a little yellower. I think. You think he should have white teeth or kind of yellowish teeth? They're too bright for me. They're too white. I feel as though, you know, he probably hasn't brushed in a while. Hasn't been to the dentist to have some of this tartar cleaned off. It could stand to be a little off-colored. That's my feeling with the with his teeth here. I don't know. He might have a great dental plan. I don't know what kind of dental insurance, Chupacabra have. I haven't seen the coverage from my company, so I can't say that they don't have good coverage, but I don't think Chupacabra coverage was. I don't remember seeing that in the blue teeth. It's make up my own cryptid. Let's see. How about a Shaka hopper, part rabbit and part grasshopper? Now that I like. I do like doing mashups. I will say I do really like doing mashups. I've done plenty of mashups before. My mashups probably are a little different than most. I think they're still fun. I did a cow wearing a blue jean jacket, which I thought was pretty cool. I did a catfish that had a vacuum cleaner head, so it would suck up anything on the bottom of the lake. I did a flamingo with human legs. I thought that was a fun one to do. What else have I done? I've done lots of. I've made up my own. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I will make up my own. I'm not for this month. Maybe we'll have a poll. I'll put a poll up, and everybody name their favorite animal, and then we'll mash those up, a couple of them up together, something like that. That would be a fun challenge. That would be a lot of fun. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that one time or a couple of times or something like that. That will be a lot of fun to do. I'm going to give him another little spot back here. I'm just looking for different areas I can fill in. I'm fiddling at this point in time. If you don't know, this is the portion of the painting where you start to fiddle and second guess everything that you've got going on. And so, in true watercolor fashion, I want to make sure that I do enough fiddling with my painting to know whether I've got it done right or wrong. And whichever it is, I'm going to do just a little bit more. That's kind of how it goes. We all do it, and with something like this, I don't really know if you can fiddle too much. The more you add, the more crazier it starts to look, and sometimes that makes it look better. Sometimes it doesn't, but I like that one. I like that line right there. I'm not wild about that one that I just put in, but I really like that one. Okay, I think I'm gonna stick pretty much with that. Oh, you know what? Let's give him a little. Let's give him some hair, a little bit of hair. He's mostly hairless. I don't want him to freeze. You know, sometimes Wendigo. Okay, so Wendigo. That gets a vote from my family. Is the Wendigo. I'm gonna give him just a little bit of hair here. Right, like I said, I don't want them to freeze. I know it's got to be pretty cold out in the desert. Sometimes it gets a little cold. I'm just gonna give enough to break this edge up. Right, maybe not enough that he's got hair everywhere, but just enough so that you can see some hair here and there. And I'm gonna call that good enough, right? I don't think he needs to have a full coat of hair. And if you've never seen me paint hair before, I don't do full hair everywhere. I think it gets to be too much sometimes. Whoop, that one didn't turn out right. Just some hair here and some hair there. Look at it on his back. So just the indication of some hair here and there really helps to sink in the indication that he has hair. Not necessarily, painting all of the hair that this guy has. I just want the indication of some hair here and there, and that's usually enough for anybody who wants to think about it or see it. I'm going to sign this one. There we go. And with that, I've got a big puddle of water on my desk up here for some reason. With that, I think I am going to call this one done. I'm actually pretty happy with this. Right? I started this whole thing, and I had kind of this in mind as what a Chupacabra is. I did an internet search and found out that that's not what it really is. They originally were described as being reptilian and muscular, and I've always thought of them as much more wolf or dog-like and stealthy, and so this was my interpretation of what a Chupacabra might be like. So I hope you all enjoyed this. Next week, I don't know exactly what we're doing. I do have the Mothman drawn out, so we might do Mothman. Mothman hits a little close to home for me. Like I said, I grew up in Ohio, heard stories of Mothman all growing up. Oh, we didn't do any more in that. Well, that's okay. We didn't do any more of the sky up here, and we'll figure that out. But then I've got a break. I think I'm going to end with Bigfoot at the end of the month. So I've got two weeks in there. I've got to figure something out. We'll talk about it next week. Maybe I'll put up a poll in Discord or here next week, and we'll have some fun trying to decide what we need to do. Dwayne says, turned out great. Thank you. Sadika says, love the shadow in the legs. The body looks hungry, or the boy looks hungry. He should. Chupacabras don't eat all that often. That's why they gotta, they're always kind of really tight and everything like that. Ala Croaker, part frog and part alligator. I like that. I like that. Lightstar, you're going to come in really handy when we start doing the homemade ones. That's what I've got for you guys this evening. Thank you all for joining me. Everybody who was here, I'm going to miss somebody. Kenya, Michelle, Lightstar, Sudike, Dwayne. Who did I don't know who else. Liza was here. There must be some other people here. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Sudike, did I say Sudike? Sudike's been here. Dwayne's been here the whole evening. Kenya's been here the whole evening. Anyways, thank you for spending your Wednesday evening with me. I had a great time painting this. I love the conversation that we got into. I think I've got some great ideas on what to do for some future ones. Next week, we'll do another cryptid. We've got 4 more weeks in October to do this. This is going to be a lot of fun. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. I hope you have a great rest of your week. I hope you're able to join me back here again next week when we do this thing all over again. Until then, thank you so much. Bye-bye.